gave an overview just of some places that you might be interested in visiting. So we're going to start the presentation now. Like I said, I've been introduced as the principal of UTS College. We're based here, but we're a Sydney institution. But today we're just going to cover Australia generally and then give you some feedback on us as well. So Hassan, were you going to come over and just do the slides? Thanks. So, is it that one? Okay, it's this one. This one, and this is that. Okay. All right, so let's just have a look at generally first of all, what is transnational education? Because it's very varied. If we have a look at the definition, there's two definitions up here. One is from TEXA, which is the quality assurance body for Australian education in Australia. And that is talking about the fact they're defining Australian education as being one where learners are located in a country different from the one where the awarding institution resides. So we're an example of that at UTS College. We're here and our awarding institution is in Sydney. But also, it can be defined as the delivery of educational programs and degrees across national borders, where it may not be the program of the partner institution, but it may be recognised. So if you can have a look here, you can see we've got pathway colleges, and in Sri Lanka, we're quite developed as far as transnational education. There's offshore branch campuses for degree completion. So pathway would be foundation, diploma, and then transfer to Australia. We also have some opportunities for students to do top-up programs. So they might have done something in their own country and they do a top-up qualification here. There's the vocational education, so TAFE, tertiary and further education, which are more practical courses. Micro-credentialing, which are, they could just be parts of master's courses, some maybe 4 units in logistics or something. Online learning, blended learning, and third-party arrangements, where the recognition is given for what the student has studied at the institution in Australia. So really onto the topic of the key benefits of transnational education. So we'll know that there's a little bit of a shortfall in the higher education places available in Sri Lanka. And that has been for a while. So the institutions come in and they meet a need to ensure that everybody that wants to do further education and is qualified can do that. It also increases access to international education, but what it does, which is really positive, it reduces the overall price of achieving that international qualification. So if you think of whether it's in Australia or the UK or wherever, the cost of your qualification, if you studied onshore, is quite high. Imagine if you started your course here, just by doing, let's say, the foundation program, which is after O-levels, or a diploma program, which is after A-levels, or both. You could start with a foundation, progress into the diploma, and move across. But just 1 year here would give you a saving of approximately 60,000 Australian dollars. And at the current exchange rate, that's about 12 million. So you can imagine if that was 2 years. So it's quite a significant saving. It can also mean the difference of being able to attend the university that you want to, even if it's perhaps for 2 years and not 3 years. If you have a look as well, there are options for full degree delivery by some institutions in Sri Lanka. So that cuts the cost down even more. You don't leave the country, but the provision of that qualification is provided fully within Sri Lanka. So the other thing too it can save time, because we have generally, if people are doing, say, a pathway program, they have 3 semesters, and therefore a student can start their program sooner. So for example, a typical diploma program, which is after A-level, could be completed in 8 months. Now, that's not a reduction on any time from Australia. That's simply cutting out the long holidays that they have in Australia. So for example, if you'd finished or you were ready to start your course of study, let's say in October, if you were going to just do it in Australia, you'd have to wait till the next semester. But you could go to a pathway program, do the first semester from October to January, the second semester from February to the end of May, and then you'd be ready to go to your program in Australia in the July. And the other thing, which is a really big advantage, is we know sometimes that it takes a little while to get results. Yep, or no? But this allows you to, most institutions will allow students to initially enroll on pending results. So that's also quite a big advantage. And by the way, you can ask questions. This is supposed to be very informal. Please feel free to put your hand up or call out. This is just about you finding out more. So I'm more than happy for anyone to interrupt at any time and say, oh, what do you mean? All right, so let's just have a look at the next one. Just a continuation of the benefits. One of the hardest things for international students when they arrive in Australia or another country is getting adapted to the learning system of that country. If you started off with a pathway program, you're already in that learning system. So for example, with our program, students are immediately either at foundation or diploma, they're immediately introduced to Canvas, our learning management system. So when they finally transfer, they don't have to worry. They just continue on with the learning system, albeit at a much bigger campus that they started with. So that can be a really big benefit. And at the moment, a lot of our students they've been transferring to start first semester in Australia, and they've got some friends to go with because they had friends that study with them. Also, you will find that most institutions will be able to provide opportunities for scholarships in Sri Lanka, and also something that's really important, an ongoing scholarship in, let's say, for example, we're talking about Australian education, an ongoing scholarship in Australia of the cost of the Australian dollar fee. That's just for going through their program. So to give you an idea, if a student just passes our program and goes into UTS in Sydney, they automatically get 20% off their courses for the next 3 years until they finish. So if it was a 2-year finish or a 3-year engineering. And if someone's quite good academically, that could go up to 25%. So it's definitely worth investigating what options there are out there. Because I know sometimes people think, oh, I just want to get there. But there can be huge savings and other benefits from considering this option. So as a student or a parent, what should you be looking for in a quality transnational education provider here in Sri Lanka? Right. So you're generally looking for something that is going to gain you entry or give you credit towards your Australian award. Now that could be an Australian award or someone, an articulation that recognises a local award for credit transfer when the student goes to Australia. So the courses need to meet the equivalent learning outcomes as a course would in Australia, because the student needs to arrive in Australia for their second year, being able just to move straight into it, right? So they need to meet those same standards. Generally, I would be looking for something where the class sizes are small and the support for students by way of workshops, peer support, just anything that helps support the student through the process. Also look for the experience to align to where you want to go to in Australia. So think about, we talk about the importance of the students becoming independent learners and starting that process with us here. The importance of being an independent learner is that you will meet things that you have no idea about because everything is new. We live in a dynamic society. But we want you, and we'll give you the tools to ensure that you actually know how to approach it. You look at it, oh, haven't seen that before, but okay, I think for my studies, I need to look at this, and then I need to look at that, and you'll find a way to be able to manage that. To me, apart from all the wonderful technology and the working within industry and everything, we need to set students up for success and to be independent learners for their future success. So that's what to look for. So why Australia? I mean, there's plenty of countries to go to, and you can walk around here and see the different options. Australia's got a pretty nice lifestyle. It has a world-class education system, support for international students. Students are allowed to work 20 hours per week, and within the break, they're allowed to work longer. So we're looking at, if a student just worked in the equivalent of Keels, like Coles or Woolworths, they'd be looking at earning 30 Australian dollars per hour. But many students find part-time work in the discipline that they're actually studying. So there's great opportunities to do that. Safe, strong economy. You see some photographs or the video earlier on about Australia. It's a nice location. There's plenty of locations to choose from. It's very multicultural, so your minimum wage I've just talked to you about is very reasonable. And yeah, it's lots of opportunities, and it's quite buoyant being able to pick up part-time work, which is an important consideration, but you have to remember that your part-time money earned from part-time work will go towards your living expenses. It's not generally going to cover the cost of your tuition fees, so it's good to keep that in mind. So let's hear what Study Australia says about Australian universities. So we've got a very similar population in Australia to Sri Lanka. It's around 24 million. But we have a lot of top-ranked universities for such a big country, small population. So 95% of our universities, and we've got around 40, are ranked globally. 9 of them are ranked in the top 100 generally. We've got 15 in the top 100 for global impact rankings, and 9 in the top 100 for graduate employability outcomes. Very important, because the most of the time when you're going to university or any area of study, whether, and I'm talking mainly about pathway, but this applies to people who are completing their qualifications in country with a full degree from an Australian university. But those rankings are really important to consider and think about, all right, well, how's this going to help me in the future? Does anyone know who this guy is? Steve Wozniak. Anyone know who he is? Anyone want to have a guess? Okay, how many of you here have got an iPhone? Hands up if you're sitting with an iPhone in your pocket. That is a clue. Who makes iPhone? Apple? Okay, so he's one of the founding members of Apple. I know Steve Jobs was the more famous one, but he is an adjunct professor at the University of Technology, Sydney. So that means he comes across occasionally, works with the team on innovation. You can see he's got a little robot there. So there's a lot of innovative focus on education in Australia. This was just an example. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Sydney. Consider Sydney because we're from a Sydney institution. We're fully owned, so highly ranked city for livability, natural environment, globally interconnected and safe and secure. But if you're out there thinking of Melbourne or Adelaide or Perth, all great. It just depends on what suits your situation. You know, you may have family in places. So equally, if you were here at the beginning and you saw the video of little things to do in Australia, you would have seen that Australia-wide there are opportunities. So what would you do? Actually, has anyone been to Australia? Hands up, anyone? No? All right, what would you do if you had 3 days spare in Sydney? Well, I guess if you haven't been, you don't know, but let's just have a look. I mean, just a little. I don't think you'll be able to hear it. It's actually just music. So just gives you an idea of what would the student lifestyle be like. A part-time job as like doing cocktails or as a barista. So while Cassandra's just put in the next slide on, does anyone have any questions so far? I've shown you Sydney because it's relevant to what we do, but this can be repeated across other locations. So it's a very good choice for student education, and it doesn't get too cold. This is us. So. You'll see some of those people here today, actually. might just stop this and see, because it's quite loud. I don't know whether you'll be able to hear. Just try one and see whether you can. The highest. What's that? Keep the mic here. Okay, can we go back then to the INSAF's one? Sorry, we're going to try. There's a student here that has gone to UTS and he's just graduating and he's talking. I didn't know, innovation, you can put the microphone, see if we can get that. It's the loudest it will go, yeah? Skip, just go to maybe the parent. All right, so we'll skip the one from the student. I don't, probably can't hear, huh? So maybe we'll just try Luxmi. We've just got one more video. She speaks reasonably loud, and then we'll open it up for questions. I'm not sure if you guys at the back could hear. Okay, I've got a microphone now, so I can talk above that. So that's pretty much the presentation. I'm sorry that it was a little bit difficult to hear the people speaking, but I hope that gave you an idea of some of the benefits of transnational education generally, but specifically Australian transnational education. So I'm really happy to open up the floor. I'm not scary at all. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, or between us we'll do our best. Hasitha is our head of sales and marketing. So between us, hopefully we can address any issues or any areas that you would like to have further information on. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Maybe I'll get you. So you would probably need, the question was, can I talk about the recent migration rules? We're not an agent, so we're not really able to talk about migration. I think the only thing that I can say is that I think some of the rules have been tightened recently to ensure that the people that are coming are genuine temporary entrants. So I think that if you've got that in mind and you're going through a reputable institution, you should just continue to do what you've always done. An institution as well, the only advice I would give to you, and as I say, I can't give you that kind of advice, but just generally, well, maybe I'll let you answer that, because we do screen people and you might want to say what the most likely age and thing is too.
Yeah, so I think in terms there have been certain changes in terms of the age they are going to give birth to all that. But if you're looking at undergraduate studies, these reasons are not everything really thing. But we advise you to probably contact their agents who represent here today, so you can probably go and talk to them about knowing most of the changes which might affect postgraduate studies and also later on PR as well. I think we have. It always depends based on your qualifications, your age, your experience, and it's always better to talk to someone who's further and explain everything to them, and they'll be able to guide you.
Screening process.
Yes. Yes. So I think PDF easy is over there as well, so you can talk to them, and there are some other agents as well. So I think reputed agents, so you can talk to them as well. Any other questions?
That was a good
That was a
question.
good question. Thank
That
you.
was a good question. Thank you for that.
Yes. For foundation, we do foundation program, diploma business, diploma IT, engineering and science programs. So roughly the cost is about 8.5 lakhs for the diploma program, roughly, and foundation is 7.5 lakhs. When you complete the program in transfer to Australia, it's around 40,000 Australian dollars a year on average. We do give scholarships, so after scholarship it will come to about 40,000. As Alison explained, we are one of the top universities in Australia, so we are in the top tier. So technically our fees, annual fees is around 50,000 Australian dollars, but for Sri Lankan campus students who are transferring, they get a guaranteed 20% scholarship and can go up to 25% scholarship as well. So I think for more information, you can always come to our website or visit us. We are on Thurston Road, just opposite Thurston College. You can come and meet us. Just walk in and you get information as well.
And we're just here.
And also, we have a stall at the very
Don't
first,
forget that.
at the entrance. So that's the very first stall you will find on your left-hand side when you enter the exhibition. So you can come and meet us there as well. Thank you very much for coming. And
Okay, I just want to thank you from me as well. Thanks for your attendance. I know it's warm and there's lots of things to do and lots of places to go to and people to meet, brochures to pick up, but we really do appreciate your time in coming here to listen to us. So thank you very much.